Hi class, it's Miss Miller here, and today was our very first official day of poetry, and I hope you had a good time and got to see the connections between hip-hop and Shakespeare. Now, I want to share with you something. There are three literary movements that we are going to cover this week. The first one is the Renaissance movement, which is where our boy Shakespeare comes from. Then we're going to look at the Enlightenment unit and then the Romanticism. Now, we're going to have those presentations from your classmates on Friday, so this will make more sense then. But I just wanted to give you the entire picture. But we're going to be working on Shakespeare for the next couple of days. We're going to take one poet from each movement to sort of examine. All right, so please take a listen as we go through the Shakespearean sonnet from the Renaissance time period. Please put these notes in your notebook. Let's take a look at a Shakespearean sonnet. So if you see here, there are three specific qualities that are unique to a sonnet. One is a lyric poem, which is the reason why we were able to sing or rap these two instrumentals. Two is the Shakespearean sonnet is a single stanza. There's just one paragraph throughout the entire piece. It's one big chunk. Three is 14 lines, which is why it's called a sonnet. Iambic pentameter, which makes it a Shakespearean sonnet. Now, in a few minutes, I'm going to be very specific about what an iambic pentameter is. Next item is the rhyme scheme. There are three quatrains in a Shakespearean sonnet, and I'm going to show you that at the end of this. And then many of you observed today in our classroom discussion that there's one concluding couplet. Now let's take a look at what specifically an iambic pentameter is. Look at the star over to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. Those 5 points make it a pentameter. Now, iambic is the first word here is an unstressed syllable. Notice the U-shaped formation above the word so. And then we have stressed syllable. Notice that asterisk here above the word low. So iambic just means that the way you say the word, it's almost like the sound of your heartbeat. Da-dun, da-dun. There's an emphasis on the second part, which is the stress, the second syllable. So low for long, they never write themselves. Okay, so the emphasis is placed on the second syllable of each metrical foot. In this case, if you look at the very bottom, I have 5 distinct feet here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to show all the different pairings of this iambic measurement. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. Okay, so go ahead and make notes in your notebooks on the definition for an iambic pentameter. Remember, there are 5 parts. It's almost like the sound of your heartbeat. The iambic portion is the unstressed and then the stressed. And the feet tells you how many pairings of that exist within that verse or line. Let's take a closer look at 1 foot. Okay, so we have to be. Now, many of you in class today were even commenting on to be or not to be. And the reason why you can recall that or memorize that is because of this iambic pentameter, this meter, this pattern that allows you, one of the ways it does, it helps you to remember the line or the verse in poetry. So the first syllable is to, which is the unstressed, and the second one is be, which is stressed. Now notice I color coded it. The stress is going to be in the pink, and that's us girls, we get stressed out about everything, right? So we're going to have the emphasis. And then the boys are kind of not, they're not really stressed out. So we'll say the boys are the blue. So they'll be the first one. Iambic means they're the first ones to go. And I even also like to say, who should open the door first? The boys should always open the door for the girl. So the boy goes first, which is unstressed. And then the girl comes, which is stressed. And then she creates all the drama, right? So to be. If you notice which one is louder, the girls, B, okay? So there is 1 foot in this meter here. Here is another sample line. In fact, this is the first line of our Sonnet 18, which you all have a copy of. Right? Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Now, at a far glance, you might just assume, oh yeah, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? But I want you to notice that there are 10 syllables in each line of your sonnet. Shall is 1, I is 2, come is 3, pair is 4, thee is 5, to is 6, is 7, some is 8, MERS is 9, day is 10. And then, so that's what it looks like. You've got 5 feet, you've got 10 syllables, you've got 3 quatrains in this poem. So I wanted you to see what it looks like. And that's why we're able to match our work with some sort of hip hop instrumentals, because of this feature right here. The Shakespearean employs this idea of this iambic pentameter, which requires us to have unstressed, then stressed, unstressed, then stressed. 5 pairs of those gives you 10 syllables. Now, an observation that you guys had today while you were in class is that, wait a minute, the last 2 lines of this poem rhyme. Well, guess what? There's a terminology for that in poetry, and that is entitled the rhyming couplet. Okay, please make a note of that. A rhyming couplet is 2 lines of the same length, and we know in our Sonnet 18, lines 13 and 14 are pretty much the same length. And the rhyme contains 1 complete thought. Now, basically, this consecutive lines, the last 2. In this case, my last touch is, we'll just look at the A and A. Wall and call. That's a rhyming couplet, wherever it is. This one, hands and stands. That's a rhyming couplet. See and see, said and read. That's another rhyming couplet. Now, this only happened in the last 2 lines of our poem, but otherwise, the rhyme scheme would be the 3 quatrain, which I'm going to show you a little bit later. Let's talk about punctuation in our poetry or in Sonnet 18. Now, I included enjambment, but you really only need to know about end-stopped. So this title is End-Stopped versus Enjambment. Now, if you notice in our poem, and we're going to look at this at the end, there is punctuation at the end of every line. So an end-stopped is the pause in the reading that occurs naturally at the end of the sentence and the end of the line. So look at the example below. When most I wink, then do mine eyes best see. Look all the way down, just the comma, the semicolon, the comma, and the period. Again, very similar to our Sonnet 18, where we have punctuation at the end of every line. This is an end stop. And I tell you this because you did notice it in your observation, but I want to give you the right academic discourse to use when you go to write about poetry. Okay, and that's what it would sound like. I want to share with you about the other terminology, which is enjambment, hence the word jam, like things get jammed up. But here's the definition: the continuation of a sentence without a pause beyond the end of the line, couplet, or stanza. Now, you don't have to be concerned with that with the Sonnet 18, but when we look at subsequent poems throughout the week, you may come across poems that do not have any punctuation, and in this case, it's an enjambment. There is no ending at the end of each line in terms of punctuation. Now, there's a lot of things happening in this sample here. So I want you to look, because I've even though I didn't number the lines, I did break up the quatrains or the rhyme scheme. So our first quatrain is rhyme scheme A, B, A, B. That's quatrain number 1. Our second quatrain is C, D, C, D. That's the rhyme scheme. Our third quatrain is E, F, E, F. Those are the rhyme scheme. So there's 3 different quatrains for the Shakespearean sonnet. Okay, that's what makes this one unique. Not all sonnets have this type of rhyme scheme, but because this is a Shakespearean one, this is what most of the sonnets will look like. Now, the final 2 lines of the Shakespearean sonnet, lines 13 and 14, is entitled the rhyming couplet. I labeled that for you too. I also color-coded at the very, very top for you the first 2 lines. Line 1 we did already, but I did break up the feet. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 feet per line, which makes it an iambic pentameter, unstressed, stressed. There's 5 pairs of those, and there are 10 syllables. So I distinguished it by the color coding. The yellow highlight shows the 1 foot, and then we have 2 feet in green, 3 in blue, 4 in pink, and 5 in purple. So I want you to go in and make these annotations as well. You've got 3 quatrains,